seem to be racking up all those losses, don't we? Well, that's the problem. The chronomalies at the moment, I don't have enough archetypes, I don't have enough staple traps and spells to balance out the weaknesses of the chronomalies. But through playing this event, I've had the opportunity to get a lot more gems a lot more quickly, and from that I've then been able to purchase certain packs. Although at the moment I'm just trying to focus on several of them. I have the Gimmick Puppet archetype, pretty much the entire archetype made, but it also hinders because it does rely on its Xyz monsters, maybe more so than the chronomalies do. I've got the chronomaly deck, which is almost complete. I'm missing basically the Xyz monsters, which is frustrating. I have near enough the Dragunities completed. I am missing some of the higher rarities, and since the key monsters are those high rarities, that's going to be a problem. I have a semi-structured armed dragon deck, but I'm again waiting on getting the rest of the Dragunities to bulk up that deck. My opponent isn't doing anything amazing. They've set, for whatever reason, their field spell. They've got a set card in defense mode and another set card in their back row. I've got, in terms of my hand, I've got the Crystal Bones, which I'm going to special summon. I have the Mud Golem, the Tusper Rocket. I've got the one that protects the monsters in the hand by discarding it, and I've got a copy of the Chronomaly Technology and the Chronomaly Temple. My opponent activates the effect of Infinite Impermanence, so that's going to negate my ability to use its effect. But since it's special summoned, I can actually still use my normal summon on one of the other monsters. I'll go in for the Mud Golem, and I'll activate the Chronomaly Temple. Using the Chronomaly Temple, I then opt to summon an additional monster. We'll go for the level 5. It will do less damage, because this one has 1,000 attack points, whereas the other has 1,300. But because I've got a monster now in my graveyard, this is where I was stupid. This is where I was just like, what am I doing? Because anything that's in the same column as the Infinite Impermanence is negated for the rest of the turn. And what did I just do? I just did that. If I'd used any of the other zones, it would have been fine. So after my bonehead mistake, I then go to the battle phase and I attack with the Mud Golem. And I direct attack with the level 5. I then end my turn. My opponent is running Sword Souls. Oh no, they're not Sword Souls, they're the Floandries monsters. This is another one of those archetypes that I get kind of bored of seeing. It's one that's so commonly used, and it's another one of those that was pre-made within starter decks. So you just copy that over and you can instantly use it. They've got the Eaglin, they've got the Toucan one, they've activated now the field spell. But for whatever reason they end their turn, they don't have the ability to go into an additional normal summon. So actually that works out for me. As you could have seen, they had the Emperor already in their hands, of which they searched for. So that's one of the 2 boss monsters. I draw into an absolutely useless card. This card is not helpful for a no extra deck event. I have no choice but to normal summon the Tusper Rocket. I'll trigger off its effect. The aim is to really get rid of some of the weaker monsters or the ones that will have effects in the graveyard. So I got rid of the Magdalene Globe to reduce my opponent's Eaglin's attack points to 0. My opponent's monsters, the field spells effect activates. I think this gives him the ability to normal summon during my turn. So yes, he gets rid of those 2 monsters to summon the Emperor. Annoyingly, with its effect, it can then cut my monster's attack points in half. My opponent uses their effects to be able to search for their monsters and recover them from the banish zone. They normal summon the Toucan. I'll attack with my Mud Golem because at least that's going to do some damage to it. I'll end my turn and my opponent's turn is up. I think given the situation I'm most likely going to lose. They've got their boss monster, one of the 2, already on the field. They normal summon the Eaglin using its effect. And the Toucan's effect from the banish pile. They're able to recover the Toucan. They search for the second boss monster. they'll normal summon the toucan and activate their continuous spell. This one has the power to send 2 of the Flunderies monsters back to the deck, and then magical mallet it away to draw 2 additional cards. It's a good way of readjusting the hand without having to use non-specific cards such as magical mallet or reload. My opponent starts by attacking my Tasper Rocket using the Emperor Penguin, but the thing is, I don't know why they went after Tasper Rocket. It's not that it can use its effect more than when it's summoned. With the effect, it's able to send a card to the graveyard and then half my monster's attack points. An additional 500 points isn't going to make that big of a difference. My opponent sets a card face down, most likely it's a specific Flunderies card, and ends the turn. I draw into a Mud Golem. I opt to not go into the Magneton Globe because I just don't see the point. Instead, I go for doing as much damage as I can with the 2 Mud Golems. I'll go to my end phase, ending the turn. My opponent normal summons a monster and uses its effect. They'll recover a monster, the Robin, from the banish pile and use Eaglin's effects. Toucan's effect is also stacked on top. Toucan recovers itself from the banish pile to the hand. Eaglin does the same. Followed by the Robin. And the final card. That banishes my Tasper Rocket. Again, there really isn't any point. They use the effect of their cards to tribute over my Mud Golem and one of their monsters to bring out the Flunderies and Snow. So that's the second boss monster they've brought out. That one has the ability to discard a card to flip both of my monsters into face down defense position. It's basically an all-in-one Book of Moon. My opponent sets a card face down and ends the turn. I draw into Call of the Haunted. There is absolutely nothing I can do. I can set it, and I could probably use the Magdalene Globe in my graveyard by banishing another monster. But I opt to just end my turn. There's absolutely nothing. There's no way I can recover. They attack directly with Flunderies and the Snow. If anyone has a competitive build of the Chronomaly archetype, I'd love to see it. So we're going to try and get some new cards because we've earned some gems along the way. We're going to be focusing on the armed dragon monsters. In this one, we've got an Ignite and a Churia. We've got the Armed Dragon level 5. There we go. We've got the Armed Dragon level 10. So that's one of those that we need. We were missing that one. This one looks like a standardized pack, so I'm not guessing we're going to get anything we're missing. There's Thunder Speed summon, so that's for the Royal Knights. And we got one of the Xyz Dark Armed Dragons. Everything else I think we don't need. White Veil is okay. But we're missing so much of the key cards. Yeah, we've only got one copy of some of them, even the original Armed Dragon level 10, the worst copy. We just don't have any of that, no Armed Pile Dragon. Yeah, other cards we've got triplicate or even more, we've got 5 of certain cards. Let's get back into dueling. This time I think, are we going to be using the Chronomalies? Or are we going to be doing something else with them? I'm going to see if I can adjust the deck. Let's see what we've got for the armed, so if we can build one of those, but again, it looks very sparse. We're going to craft a couple of the cards. So that's one of them that we're missing. We will be getting another of the Armed Dragon Whites, the level 10 one, because that is in itself its own boss monster. We'll encourage the use of the free pack. So there's a Super Heavy Samurai, we've got a Blue Rose Dragon, the Ritual Armed Dragon, Level Up, nothing in particular we're going to be found useful. I got a bit bored using just the Chronomaly monsters, so I actually went back into my Gibbet Puppet monsters and tried a couple of duels using that. We've got Scissor Arms, we've got the Magnet Doll, we've got the Shadow Feeler, We have Torrential Tribute, and we've got Condolence Puppet in hand. My opponent is activating their hand destruction, so that's sending 2 cards to the graveyard. It's going to be quite easy for me to make a choice on that. Shadow Feeler's obviously got to be there because that activates its effect from there. And Magnet Duel, since it's a level 8, is also at the moment not useful. And we're going to be drawing into Humpty Dumpty and Egghead. Both very key cards for the deck. I should mention as well, this is just during the normal duels. We've gone out of the event, otherwise you wouldn't see the extra deck that's appearing at the moment on the left hand side. I've drawn into the Joker card, it's not useful at the moment. I start with Condolence Puppet, just to get another one of the gimmick puppets to the graveyard. I opt to do so for Druidol. I'll use Druidol's effect, so I can banish a different gimmick puppet. I'll go with the Magnet Duel to special summon it in either attack mode or defense mode. Obviously with 0 attack and defense, it has to go into defense. I'll normal summon the Humpty Dumpty. Well, actually, this is the Egghead. And I'll adjust its level by discarding a card to the graveyard. I'll go with the Twilight Joker to make it a level 8. I'll overlay the 2 monsters together to become number 40 Gimmick Puppet of Strings. I'm deciding whether or not to use the banish effect of the Condolence Puppet because that protects my monster from being negated. I think it's its effect from being negated, or it also protects it from being destroyed by card effects for the rest of that turn. So I'll do that for number 40 because I don't know what their back row is. I'll go straight into the battle phase. Taking out their monster. I go to main phase 2 and I'm going to be setting the torrential tribute face down. My opponent sets a card face down. They activate their Book of Tayo, so that's going to flip their monster face up. And that happens to be a Morphing Jar. So we'll discard our entire hand and redraw 5 cards. I draw into a gear change, a Humpty Dumpty, a Drury Doll, a Gimmick Puppet Trap card, and the Jelly Cannon. I draw into a Scissor Arms on my turn. I'll normal summon the Humpty Dumpty. Using its effect, I'll then special summon the Drury Doll in attack mode. Might be wondering why I do that since they're both different levels. But in this case, I'll be going for the Link monster rather than an Xyz summon. With its effect, I'm then going to search for one of the Gibbet puppets to add to my hand, or I can also choose to summon it to the field. So I have a choice of several of these monsters, whether I want to do anything with them. I end up going for Destroy. And I'll special summon it straight to my field. I'll go straight into battle phase. My opponent activates their Book of Eclipse. which turns all monsters on the field to defense mode, except for my link monster, which is, I'm glad I actually summoned, because link monsters cannot have a defense position. Instead, it destroys the morphing jar, and we discard all the cards in our hand and redraw again. The whole strategy, if you don't notice, is that he's trying to deck me out by forcing me to draw into all my cards. I'll go into main phase 2 to see if I can actually flip those monsters back into attack mode. Unfortunately I can't, so I'll just end my turn. Book of Eclipse then forces my monsters to be turned back face up in defense position, and I draw cards equal to the number of monsters that had this effect applied to them. Unfortunately, it does mean I have to discard, so I do get rid of a destroy. My opponent activates a hand destruction. I've not drawn into anything that useful. I did get the egghead and I forgot the jelly cannon, so that's okay. My opponent then activates a shallow grave, so they can summon a monster in face down defense position, and so can I. They'll probably be going for their Morin Fen, or their morphing jar actually, so they can then use that effect to redraw cards and discard cards. It really depends on the situation, but if I can be aggressive enough, I could possibly win. If he's able to stall out enough, then he will win. So I'll go with the Shadow Feeler, not for any particular reason, it's just I decided to do that. My opponent has a card set, and they activate a third copy of Hand of Destruction. I get rid of the egghead. And the puppet ritual. I'll draw into the baby and the Druidor. My opponent has an attack defense changer in the graveyard, which lets them banish it to change the battle position of one of their monsters. They flip over their Morin Fen, their morphing jar, and then activate its effect. So there goes a load of my cards. So I draw into Ring of Destruction, a Gimmick Puppet trap card, the Condolence Puppet, and 2 of the rank up magic Chaos Argent Force. My opponent activates a Monster Reborn. Targeting their Needleworm. I don't understand why you would use Monster Reborn for Needleworm. It can't flip itself unless you flip it over with one of your cards, which I'm guessing is the whole point. At this point I am concerned that they're just going to flip everything over again, so I thought, stuff it, I am going to wipe that field clean. Get rid of their key monsters, so I'll use the torrential tribute. At this point, I didn't care that I lost a load of monsters. I knew that at least I'd be able to do something with the hand I was given. My opponent just gives up during that because I don't think they had the necessary cards to do anything with it. In this case, what we're doing is we're viewing a duel. This is because I needed 5 extra gems just to boost it up to get the next set of gems to get another extra pack. The opponent ends up setting just a monster and a face down card. This player uses the pot of duality to search for a winged beast monster. They've got the flunderies as their main components, and they also have an ash blossom and winter cherries in hand. They normal summon the eaglin. They recover one of the monsters from the banished pile, which is the Robin. And they search for a riser, the Mega Monarch. They normal summon the Robin, and then they search for the Storming Wind barrier. They tribute their 2 monsters to special summon a riser and use its effect. Eaglin's effect activates from the banish pile, but the opponent activates a flood hole trap hole. The opponent just sets a card face down, and this one activates the pot of duality. And the card they opt to choose is the Book of Moon. They normal summon the Eaglin. And they search for their Flundery's boss monster, the Emperor Penguin. They'll normal summon another monster, searching for the Toucan. They normal summon the Toucan. And with its effect, they're able to search for a card that's banished and recover it to the hand. They tribute over the monster to bring out the Flunderies and Snow. Toucan's effect activates, returning itself to the hand. They activate the continuous spell card and use its effect to return 2 of their Flunderies monsters to the deck in order to draw 2 cards. They then summon the Winged Valley monster and choose to go in for a direct attack. They activate its effect to negate the Swift Scarecrow from the opponent's hand by returning itself to the hand and attack with all their monsters. The opponent decides to tribute over all their monsters to summon the Winged Dragon of Ra Spear mode. This player activates Pot of Desires to banish 10 cards face down, to draw 2 cards. They normal summon the Eaglin and they activate the effect of the Robin from the banish pile and an Eaglin and a Toucan to return those monsters all to the hand. They've sent 2 of the monsters back to the deck to draw 2 additional cards, and they activate Called by the Grave to remove the Spear mode. They direct attack with the Flunderies monster, the Emperor Penguin, but they only do half the damage because the Skull Servant monster, it reduces their attack points by its level. So the higher level you are, the weaker you become. The opponent sets a monster face down and special summons Satan Claws to the field in defense position. They activate the Book of Moon on the Satan Claws. They use the Pot of Duality to search for the Eaglin. They banish a card to normal summon the Robin. Eaglin's effect, Toucan's effect, activate from the banish pile, recovering themselves to the hand. And then he'll attack all the monsters and the opponent directly with all his monsters. So we have enough to get a couple of packs. Hopefully we'll get something within the Armed Dragons. It's a secret rare, so there might be an opportunity. And there's an ultra rare in here. It's a system down, UA Jersey. Oh, that's a Dark Lord card, and we've got another of the level 10 Armed Dragons. So that's fine. That's another copy that we actually needed. But there's a basic monster that we're missing. And this is another secret rare pack. Queen of Thorns isn't useful. We've got the level 7 dragon. That's it. That's the level 4 monster that I needed. I think I've got 3 copies of that now since I just converted one just previously, as you saw. So there's 3 copies of that. I've got enough of that particular card. What we're missing, we're still missing the Armed Dragon level 10 and the Pile Armed Dragon, which special summons itself. So not enough to make the deck, unfortunately, but that's okay. You live and learn, and it's up to how the game presents itself, whether we'll randomly get those cards. I'm going to start converting some of these cards just so that I can eventually boost them up and get some more of the rarities so I can actually trade those in. I'm going to be going back